Hey everyone, before we get into the podcast, we want to announce some updates with our Power Monkey courses leading into 2022. We are excited about continuing to offer our gymnastics and weightlifting combo courses, 1 and 2 day offerings. If you go to powermonkeyfitness.com, search under the events tab, you'll be able to see what we already have on the agenda for 2022. We will be expanding into kettlebell offerings as well. Those are already up on the site too. If you're looking to host one yourself, please contact us at info@powermonkeyfitness.com and we'll get one of the courses out your way if one's not already on the agenda. Come hang out with us, learn some technical expertise when it comes to weightlifting, gymnastics, and now kettlebell. Hopefully see you soon. Welcome to the Power Monkey Podcast, where we chat with the best in the world about what they do. I'm your host, Dave Durante, and this week my co-host is none other than Mike Service, and our guest is gymnastics legend Chellsie Memmel. Now, me and Chellsie go way back. We used to compete together on Team USA. We actually got our start right around the same time at the 2003 Pan American Games, and her career skyrocketed from that event. We talk a little bit about what that was all about, leading into the 04 Games, leading into the 2005 season, which was a huge one in Chelsie's career where she won the all-around world championship that year, and then leading into the Olympics, and now what she's doing in the fitness world, still competing, still staying active as a gymnast, as a 33-year-old mom, what it's like now competing with the young guns and trying to show that gymnastics at an elite level, at a competitive level, is not just for teenagers. Chelsie's an inspiration. I love what she's doing. She's still staying so active in some new ways as a gym owner, as a coach, as a judge in a variety of different ways. We have some great stories to tell here. Chellsie is an incredible person, not only a gymnast, and we hope you guys enjoy this one. Well, hello, Chellsie. It's so good to see you. Thank you for taking the time to be on the Power Monkey podcast today. How are things going?
Things are great. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Of course. It's been a while since we've seen each other in person, but we've been able to follow along your incredible journey and what you have going on now, which we'll get into a little bit. But I want to give our listeners, because, you don't come from the CrossFit world. Obviously you come from the gymnastics world, and most of our listeners are more in the fitness, functional fitness, CrossFit space. So I want to just give some people a little bit of a background on the amazingness that is Chellsie Memmel. Is that all right for you? Is that all right with you?
Sure.
All right. So
I will be adding in the oohs and the ahs when Dave says things.
Yes.
Because
there are lots of places for those. But Chellsie, I don't even know if you know this, but I feel like your kind of coming out party to the gymnastics world happened kind of in 03. Would you say that that's fairly accurate?
Yes. Yeah.
And both of us competed together that summer. So for listeners out there, 2003 summer, both Chellsie and I were competing at the Pan American Games in Santo Domingo. And give a little bit of kind of history there. You won the all-around at Pan American Games. And normally that would have been kind of the end of the summer, right? That would have been the end of the competition season. And World Championships was right around the corner. And that particular year, the United States was hosting World Championships in Anaheim, which is the first time that we had hosted in almost 20 years, since 91 or over 20 years. And it was a big deal. And so I guess it wasn't 20 years, I guess it was 12 years. But it was a big deal that we were hosting World Championships again. We were coming off a great performance in Santo Domingo, you winning the all-around and team and kicking butt. And there was another group of girls that were compete at World Championships. And something happened. There were some sicknesses, there were some injuries, and you got asked to go straight from Santo Domingo to go compete at World Championships a couple of weeks later. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Now, how much time, do you remember how much time was between those two events?
It was not a lot. It was enough time that I went from Santo Domingo to the preparation camp. So I flew from the Dominican Republic to Houston to do the training preparation camp with the team, but then we flew from there to Anaheim. So there was not enough time to go home. And I think I missed one or two of the days for the prep camp. But from start to finish, it was maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I remember. It was about 2 weeks, which is crazy. You didn't even get to go home. You went right from one major competition right to World Championships, yes. Filling in, and you're a freaking rock star. You stepped in, and I think it's always kind of known that you attack. Like the way you approach gymnastics is, you know, as soon as that hand is raised, you attack whatever it is. I'm putting my blinders on and you can count on me to succeed. And it's just been a role that I think a lot of other people can just breathe a sigh of relief. If we know that Chelsea's in the lineup, her score is going to count and we're going to count on her to put up a score that we need. And so you went to Anaheim and you ended up assisting in the team winning a gold medal, which is a huge deal. And you also won a gold medal on bars. I mean, you and Holly tied for first on bars, which is incredible. So you came away from that summer after competing when, you know, at Pan American Games, winning, kind of starting the career off, and then launching yourself into the conversation for Olympics and everything beyond that when you weren't even supposed to. Is that how you ended up finishing up that summer? Like, shit, now I'm in the running for next summer as well for Athens.
Yes, that is honestly, that was such a pivotal moment in like my career and my mentality around the Olympics, because it was always like, that's cool, that's like a dream, that's a goal, but it didn't fully set in as like a reality to me until after Worlds. It was like, oh, like, okay, I could do this. Like I've now been to a Worlds and have competed on this huge stage. I could realistically have a shot at making an Olympic team.
Yeah. And am I
Dave, I wanted to ask a question really quick, just because I'm probably more like some of the listeners right now, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, okay, she went and competed and then she went and competed somewhere else. But like, how old were you when you did this? Because this was, you know, one of your first big competitions. Right.
I was 15. Yeah. It was so the only year that you can compete at Worlds when you're 15 is the year before the Olympics, because you will be 16 and age eligible then. So yeah, I was 15.
Mike, what were you doing at 15 years old?
Yeah, I mean, I was lifting, but I wasn't even, I think at that point, I was just idolizing people that were competing at nationals and wondering what that was like. But yeah, I think just the context for everybody too, to think about what they were doing when they were 15, and the fact that, yeah, you went to a foreign country, you know, away from most of your family, crushed it. And then, yeah, the drop of the hat, you get told you need to do something else. And just to be what seems like probably from, especially what Dave has told me even more about, you being so comfortable outside of your comfort zone and just, you know, attacking, like Dave said.
Yeah. And some of it comes back to, you know, Mike said not being around your family, but you had your dad there, and your dad he didn't come to San Domingo?
No, he was not coaching me at that time.
Oh, wow.
I was still another club with another coach, Jim Chudy. So he was my primary coach. My dad didn't start coaching me till 2004.
Okay. So next summer.
Yeah. Yes, but I did get to see. I mean, they were there in San Domingo and they were there in Anaheim. We just didn't see them a ton.
Right. But this idea of you just, I feel like it's accurate, and you've been nodding your head in terms of how I've been describing your mentality as an athlete. How did that come about? Is that just something that's been innate within you? Like, you've always been a kid, an athlete that kind of like attacks in that way? What has been kind of your route to being an athlete that just turns it on in those competition settings?
I think it is. I mean, I know clearly I'm a competitive person, and I think sometimes that's hard to just teach. I mean, you can get better at competition, you can get better at it, but it was just something, honestly, for as long as I can remember, I loved to compete. And it was just, it's such a different setting than, you know, being in the gym. And I don't mind like that grind either, but then it's just like, you get to go and put everything out there, leave it on the floor in the competition. And that to me is kind of, that atmosphere is what I thrived on.
Mm-hmm. And you grew up within gymnastics. You know, your parents have owned a gym. You've continued to stay involved at every level, not only as a competitor, but then a judge, you're a coach, you're in the gym every day. I want to talk a little bit about what you're doing now in a little bit, but was gymnastics the thing that was always a part of your life, or did you do other things? Did you do other sports, and gymnastics ended up being the route because of the access, or were there other things you were interested in as well?
My mom and dad made sure to expose me to other sports and to give them a shot. They didn't stick. They weren't the same as gymnastics. And I was in the gymnastics world. I was in the gym every single day anyways, because that's where they were. But they at least gave me that opportunity to try something else, to see if something else was going to be a better fit. It wasn't. I loved being in the gym. I loved doing gymnastics. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that they gave me those other opportunities. That's just not the route I was going to go.
Yeah. I mean, clearly you chose the good one. Yeah, your dad is one of my favorite people that I've come across within the gymnastics world. I'd probably say that most people say something similar. Always smile on his face, always having a good time, clearly just loves the sport and loves you, and just made me believe that a parent-child relationship in the gym could work. And I'm curious from your perspective if you felt that right off the bat, or if it was something that you guys had to grow in together from a relationship standpoint, and what has really worked from your perspective between the two of you?
Well, I think we both went into it with an open mind, and the fact that I was the one who asked him to coach me, it wasn't saying, hey, like, I'm going to be our coach. Like, this is what we're going to do. It was when I came home and I was like, we got to figure something else out. And their first question was, where are we going to send you? And I'm like, no, can you try? And it came from me. It came from me asking him to give it a try, because he wasn't even really in the gym coaching at that time. So I stepped him back completely into the coaching and gymnastics world. And it was setting boundaries. It was making sure that gym was gym and home was home. And if there was something that really needed to be discussed, it was like asking, hey, can we talk about gym? Or, hey, can we talk about this, or tomorrow, or whatever? And it was like, yes or no. And then we respected those boundaries. We respected saying, yes, we can, or we respected saying, no, we can't.
Right.
And I think that was very crucial into helping like that success.
And it's been something that we've seen quite a bit within the gymnastics world, right? This parent-athlete relationship. We've seen it with, obviously, probably the most well-known is Nastia and her father. You and your dad. We've had it on the men's side with Sasha and his father, as well as Sho and his dad, and some others. But I wanted to jump. Let's pass over the 2004 Olympic Games. Foot injury. 2004 kind of was a little blip on the way to incredible success in 2005. And 2005 was another just incredible year. And I think most people probably don't give you enough credit for what you did in that year, being the all-around world champion, the best gymnast in the world. 2005 was in Melbourne. It was an individual, not a team world championships. And what was really unique about that was this battle that played out between you and Nastia that ended up being, I would assume, to be the closest world championships ever, being that you ended up winning by 0.001. Is that accurate? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you know, and again, mentioning like you and your dad and Nastia and her father, how was the relationship between you guys at that point, like in your careers? You're still fairly new to Team USA, competing at that level. How both of you guys were fairly new to the whole thing. How was your relationship out on the competition floor, and were you even aware of how close you guys were throughout the entire competition?
Well, it was a great relationship. I mean, my dad was really great at that, and knowing like when to push and when to pull back, and not always giving this like crazy like technical advice like before routine. Like I will always remember, it was before my floor routine, because we did know it was going to come down to that floor routine. We knew how close, it was. I am the type of person that I do like to know where I stand. And I know some people don't and some people do. And I like to know where I'm at. And that's just how it is. And I went first. So I had to literally had to put everything, leave it all out on the floor and just like wait and see what happened. But he said to me, have fun, see you at the finish line. It wasn't anything like technical or do this or do that or make sure you do this. It was literally have fun. I'll see you at the finish line. And like that took some of the pressure off me to know that he had full confidence that I could do it.
Yeah. Mike, I don't know if you're aware of how close 0.001 is. You can't, and Chelsea, you would judge, as a judge, from a judging perspective, how would you explain 0.001 to the lay person out there? What is that in judging terms?
It's just like the most like minuscule like thing. Like it's so hard to even like, describe, like, because it's, when I say sometimes to my girls, a toe point could put you on or off the podium, and that just one toe point is even less than the margin of what
Right.
it was.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about, and you ended up being world champion leading into that quad. So clearly you had a name that was already being looked at as a contender for the 08 games. Now, with all those successes, and we don't need to talk too much about the 08 games, finishing, you guys won silver medal. And I know that gold was the goal for you guys. The gold medal was the goal, and China edged you guys out that year in Beijing. But you've had so many successes. You've had what we talked about from earlier, individual success, team success. Even though the Olympics is kind of the end all be all when it comes to what we try to strive for as athletes, what would you say was the highlight that has really kind of stood out to you in your career so far, whether that be top of the podium or an event, or maybe it was in something that happened relatively recently? Is there something that really stands out in your career as kind of the one that you kind of hang your hat on from a career perspective?
There's a few moments. I mean, obviously the most recent is a lot different, and I can appreciate it like just so much more, just having been around that much longer. But 05 Worlds was definitely one of them. 03 winning as a team after the team had been through so much. My floor routine in 2008 at Olympic trials, that routine, sticks out to me and forever will, because it was our second day of competing. I would happen to be the last competitor up on floor, and I did the best floor routine of my life. And to do it in that moment, it was incredible. And like that still gives me all of the feels, that routine, obviously still getting that silver medal as a team. But most recently, just competing, as a 33-year-old mom of two and doing your Chinko double full on vault. Like,
it was amazing.
I'm so proud of that, like in that specifically, to be able to, get back into that kind of shape and that kind of gymnastic shape and have the confidence to do a vault that I hadn't done since I was 18.
Yeah. Chelsea, have you talked to any of your former teammates, like thinking back to 03, 04, 05, 06? I'm sure, some of the conversations leading up to it were probably interesting, but like after hitting that vault, like I'm curious, what were some of the reactions from some of your teammates and people that have, seen the, probably like baby Chelsea competing and then like, coming back at it and just craziness. Yeah.
Well, beforehand, it was all like, you're crazy. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's just, yes, I know. I am absolutely insane. But no, everything was like, they were just so supportive and just saying like, that is amazing. It's amazing what you were able to do. Like, I can't even picture myself getting up and doing something like that again. So it was very just supportive, and that was wonderful.
I want to go into this a little bit deeper, because this is something really special, and I think it's something that can resonate with our community a little bit more. I think the successes are cool to listen to, but what you're doing now is, I think it's probably the most incredible thing that I've heard in a while, because not too many people have ever done what you're doing. And, I look at Chusevitna as maybe like the example, right? And for any non-gymnast out there, if you look up Oksana Chusevitna, 7-time Olympian, like competing still at 45 years old, still making world vault finals and things like that. But it happens almost never. We talk about 15 years old being able to compete at World, 16 years old, and these are thought to be the athletes that are meant to compete at the highest level. And you're changing, you and others like Oksana are changing the mentality and the perception around what a 30-year-old mom, a 33-year-old mom is capable of doing. So I think this conversation is so important right now, just to let people know that, no, your best years are not behind you once you hit 18. And so my question to you is, what, after 8 years of not competing, what was the motivating factor behind, hey, I want to come back to this. This is something that's important to me. And then we'll go into a little bit more of the nuance behind what you did out on the competition floor.
I mean, it happened very gradually. It wasn't just like, hey, I stepped into the gym and was like, hey, I'm going to do gymnastics again. And hey, I'm going to even try to compete. It happened, like I said, very gradual. It was very slow. It was a lot of time. It was, about a year after I had my daughter, I just was like, oh, I'd like to just get in better shape. I just want to feel fit. I want to feel like me again.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, allowing myself to take that time off, giving myself that grace, because, I just did something incredible.
Yeah.
And I started just, stretching, working out very lightly, doing things a little bit here and there in the gym. And then one of our coaches like, hey, can you do this rope challenge? And I'm like, no.
What was it?
It was the very first Chellsie challenge. It was one of the climb up with the leg lifts. And I was like, yeah, right. Are you kidding me? I was like, ask me again in a couple months. But just that little bit sparked something. And I was like, okay, so maybe I'll start doing a little bit more and conditioning a little bit more. And then I tried it again. I did try it in a few weeks and I somehow made it through. And that was, again, it was that competitiveness that I hadn't felt in such a long time. It was like the camera was on and I was next to a girl who is less than half my age.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, like I said, it just lit and sparked that competitive fire that is in me. It just hadn't been in a long time. And that just made me want to do more. And then he kept coming up with challenges. And then I wasn't just trying those once a week. I was doing more conditioning in the meantime to get stronger so I could be better at those, and continue to try to compete with these, 13, 14-year-olds. And I was having fun with it. Like I said, it was enjoyable again. And it was a different attitude around strength and training and conditioning. And I was doing it for me and not for another reason. Mm-hmm. And then, just was conditioning lightly for 6 months to a year and then just started flipping a little bit. I was like, oh, this is fun. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, all right, just trying fun combinations. And I was just enjoying that time in the gym. And I was, again, not really doing it consciously, but just doing more, stretching more, getting my body ready more for those days that I set aside to play gymnastics for an hour, maybe once or twice a week. And then when the pandemic happened and, everything went to crap, we were in the gym so much because it took so much to clean and do all of that. You don't really realize how much is in a gym. So you have to clean it all.
Right.
And then, doing all these updates. And that's where I was running all of our Zoom workouts for the first 5 or 6 weeks. And I was working out more than ever. So I was in great shape. It's like, well, just try more. Because I'm in the gym, we're in a gymnastics facility. Nobody is doing gymnastics. And it just made me really sad. It's like, well, I might as well do it. And then I just I kept doing it and I kept trying, my old skills and I kept trying it and they just were feeling good. And I went about it though, in a way where I always had a cap. I know I'm not going to go in and do 10, okay, I've got three shots to do this. Mm-hmm. It was quality over quantity. It was not pushing myself to, try to make myself sore, get this new thing or get this thing back with however many tries, this maximum. It was literally you have 3. Mm-hmm. So it was doing it in a way where it was smart and I could keep doing it. And then I kept, doing more and more. And then I kept saying, and then people again are just the chatter was you should come back. You should come back. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm just playing. I'm having fun. But then I kept doing more and I would make these little hurdles for myself. Well, if you can do this, maybe you should, it's a sign you could come back. And if you can't, well, then you just can't. And it's fine. And I kept getting them. And
I
then
love
finally
it.
it was like my dad, I was asking him, to watch more instead of just like kind of observe as he's cleaning or, whatever, and consult with him more. And then it was like, well, I've put in this much work. Really, then why not see what I'm truly capable of doing? Because I have nothing to lose.
Hmm. And one of the things you touched on there that I thought was important, especially for listeners, myself, someone that's trying to stay in shape, that idea of when you're younger, the numbers are, you keep doing it until you do it.
Mm-hmm.
But what you learn as your body starts to break down, and you have to be smarter with your training as you get older, you start setting those numbers around more of the mental side and less on the physical side, and saying, yeah, I have 3 turns. It turns into, how am I going to prepare myself mentally to make sure that those 3 turns are maximized?
Yes.
And so this is one of the things I wish I would have learned when I was a younger athlete. How do you take advantage of every turn, right? Something we talk about at seminars that we teach, even when we're talking with kids and or adults, saying that every turn and every workout is an opportunity. So no matter how you're feeling, no matter what you have going on outside of the gym, every time you take a chance at going up to that apparatus, or up to that barbell, or standing underneath the rings, or trying to attack a workout, it's an opportunity to get incrementally better. So basically what I'm saying, and I'm like to hear your thoughts on it, and yours as well, Mike, but the mental side becomes such a bigger component of your training as you get older, because you only have so many in you. Is that fair to say, that you need to be smarter, but also attack it saying, this needs to count because I only have this many in me for this day?
Absolutely. That is that was such a big part of what I was doing, is being mentally strong, and like getting up there and going with the mentality that I'm going to hit this,
Mm-hmm.
instead of like, I'm going to see how this goes, or this might not be a good one. Well, if you have that attitude going into it, or let's just see, it's not going to be your best. It was being able to, yes, control your mind and control your thoughts, and visualize that this is going to be a great one. And then more often than not, it's going to be at least good.
Right.
And that is, to me, it's so much more beneficial than throwing 10 just bad or okay ones.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing 3 like really good ones, that it's going to get you to a better place.
And save your body.
Yes.
Yeah. Chelsea, I wish I had like a stick board to like throw stuff for like everything that you're saying that's resonating for. I mean, you're a coach, so you understand when you're teaching people, and the same for Dave and I. But yeah, I think so often when you're a younger athlete, it's like oftentimes your stubbornness leads you to your success. It's like, well, I'm just going to try until I get it. And then it oftentimes works, but it's maybe not the smartest way. And then you've had such a cool opportunity as an more experienced athlete now, to draw from like the wisdom that you inherited from like your younger self, and yeah, being realistic, and maybe the coolest word that I heard you say though was like having fun with it. And I think that perspective, when you can find fun and make things a little bit playful, but still understand the nuances of being technically proficient and making everything efficient, and making things quality over quantity. When that's fun, that's like the secret recipe to success. It's like have fun, have good quality, and then know when to turn it off for the day, because yeah, there's tomorrow.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with that completely. And that's how it was. Like I had a certain amount of time, because, I've got my kids I'm taking care of, and there's, other things going on. And it was a little like, this is the time I have in the gym for gymnastics. So I need to be efficient, because I can't stay another hour. Or I can't go back and have a 2-a-day training. It was really getting that focus to do what I need to be done in the time, that I have allotted to do that. And yeah, it was completely different style of training and mentality. And it was so much more, I mean, I was self-driven before, but this was like a whole nother level of being self-driven and self-motivated, and, learning to take care of my body better, completely like changing the way that I conditioned and trained, and just taking much more of an active approach to how I warmed up, how I stretched, how I worked out, especially on like the days off, because I only did gymnastics 3 days a week. And that is
Mhm.
also just like something that is crazy. And I worked out really hard on the 2 days in between where I wasn't doing gymnastics.
I want to go into that part of it too, like the structure of your training and also some of the stuff that you did outside of the gym that maybe was different than when you were a little bit younger. But you mentioned something in there that I think, again, is important for our listeners, the fact that you have kids and you have a life outside of the gym, that your training doesn't, that's not the whole world anymore. And that's realistic more for the population that we're working with.
Yes.
And being able to balance those things, right? And I always used to say that I would never have been able to compete at a high level if I had kids. Like I don't know how you do that. And my mentality has since changed after hearing people like yourself or Chad Vaughn, who's a big part of our team, two-time Olympian, who basically changed his training. When he had his daughter, his numbers went up because it allowed him to structure his day a little bit more specifically. And it wasn't just around training, that there was, okay, you have your allotted time, you get your shit done, and then you move on to whatever else. And I feel like you end up figuring things out when those challenges or when those new life changes happen. For you, what was kids a benefit to this new training in terms of saying, I know I have these responsibilities outside of the gym, so I'm forced to make sure that every turn, every hour, every minute in here counts more than maybe when you don't have those other responsibilities?
I do think it absolutely helped and made a difference. And it was a good distraction, because sometimes I feel like we get so caught up in something, and gymnastics was my entire life when I was younger, and not necessarily that that's a bad thing, but then I was completely lost when it was time to retire, and I had no clue what to do. So to have them be a part of this journey, and yes, I was able to, like, this is my gymnastics time, this is my home time, but then also they could see, how hard I was working. I was working towards something, and they were in the gym with me for a bit of it before, schools and stuff started opening up again. But that part of it was really cool for them to see and be around, like the recovery, or see, like when we go for walks or things like that, where they're seeing, what I'm doing. They're seeing me taking care of my body. I mean, literally just the other day, I was downstairs doing a workout, and I had to buy them weights that they could carry, because they emulate what you do.
Sure.
My daughter's like, can you put the timer on? Because sometimes I do like HIIT workouts. And so she did a HIIT workout while I was doing my own workout. And it was the coolest thing, because, I didn't force her, be like, hey,
And
you're
how old are they?
She's 4, my son's 7.
Yeah.
But it was like, that part of it is leading that like active lifestyle is, I think something such a good thing that I can give them, for them to see me, and my husband, like when we love being outside, we love walking, we love doing things like that, where it's like, we only get one body, let's take care of it.
Yeah, I love that. And you're absolutely right that they emulate the good and the bad, right? Everything, they're always watching, they're always listening. You have to be careful. You think there's no way that they're going to, they seem to have like the ability to look through walls a lot of times, kids. And one of the lucky things that we've been able to see, and, I think all of our goals within the Power Monkey world, because we all work within niche sports, whether it be gymnastics or weightlifting, and sports that are maybe popular every 4 years during the Olympic cycle, or very rarely popular even outside of that. But CrossFit and functional fitness has it started to expose people that didn't grow up with gymnastics to gymnastics, right? Now we have a whole generation of people wanting to put rings in their garages and wanting to learn how to do handstands and be interested in Olympic barbells. And it's the kind of thing that's totally transformed what was a niche sport into something that's become a little bit more mainstream. And so the two questions that I get very, very often from participants of our camps and our clinics and courses that we teach are, I wish my parents would have put me in gymnastics when I was a kid, and I can't wait to put my kids in gymnastics when they're old enough. Now, questions here for you. One, are your kids doing gymnastics? And two, and I think the more important question here is, what do you look for? I mean, you've been involved with in so many different levels, like we mentioned. What do you think is important for a parent to look for in a good gym? Is it proximity to where they live? Is it, the quality of the coaching? Is it quality of the facility? Is it that they've had Olympians before? What are the things that go, what should a parent look for when they say this is the right gym for my boy or girl, to want to make sure that they're in a relationship with the facility, with the coaches, with the other teammates, that it's going to foster a good relationship with the sport?
Yes. Well, yes, both my kids, they're in the gym. They're in the gym twice a week for classes. So nothing crazy, but they will be in more sometimes if I'm going in and Dashel isn't in school and they'll go in extra with me and play. They love the love the playtime in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And I think gymnastics is such a wonderful foundational sport. Even if it's not something that they're going to stick with, it's going to teach them, so much. And like I said, just build that foundation that will be benefited in any other sport or anything else that they choose to do. And I would say when you're starting them off young, proximity is going to be key. I mean, because you're not going to drive them, how many 45 minutes if they're young, but it's looking for, yes, the staff who cares about the kids. And that's what they're teaching. They're teaching like the functional parts or the standing in line and how to hold up their bodies and their positions. It's just things like that that are so critical, especially at that young age. But yes, I think it's finding the good coaches. And then if they get older and it's something they stick with and, the gym that you're at isn't the super highest level, that is when you might look towards finding somewhere else or this or that. And a gym, I mean, I'm going to say it because our gym has one, but it just because they have an Olympian doesn't mean that they're the best gym and the best fit for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And let's give a little shout out to your gym. Where's your gym? What's the name of it? So people in the area at least know that it's something's available.
We are M&M Gymnastics in New Berlin, Wisconsin.
All right. Wisconsin. Are you a Packers fan?
Yes.
Is it like required? Is it part of like on your birth certificate kind of thing?
Pretty much. I mean, if you live here, if you were born here, I would say it is pretty much.
Chellsie, I have a question, and it probably ties in with Dave, asking some more about the kids and yeah, comments that we receive a lot at, whether it's at our camp or our courses. We also get a lot of participants that want to know how they can do more gymnastics. So I've seen more that I wasn't aware of, like adult gymnastics classes popping up. And I don't know if that's something you guys do at your gym or you would consider, but I think there's tons of parents of gymnastics, like children, that would die to be able to get in and play and move and learn how to kick up into a handstand. And I think we're always amazed at the diversity of people and body types and everything that come to work with us. And they're so open to try if they just feel safe and they feel like somebody will encourage them.
Yes. No, I agree 100%. We do have I have an adult gymnastics class. We do like 45 minutes of stretching and conditioning, and then we do open gymnastics because everybody is at a different level and want to work something new.
You lead it?
Yes.
Nice. Oh man, for anyone that lives in that area, you got to go. Come on. You got Olympian here, world champion, leading you through the workouts. If you're an adult in the CrossFit and functional fitness space, you got to go to M&M. Please do it.
Yes. It's really fun. It's one of my favorite days to work out when there's a group of people, with me. We're all doing it together. I'm trying to work on figuring out how to add a little bit more. And I know this is a big struggle with gyms is finding the space and the time to be able to do it. Because I know ours isn't at the most ideal time, but it's when the gym is open and when I'm available. It's in the middle of the day. I'm seeing if I can add some like in the mornings, like maybe like a before work type thing. But a lot of some of my regulars, they just kind of make it work and they fit it into their week, and that's just how they plan it out, which is really awesome. Like they know that this week they're taking a long lunch.
Yeah.
Tuesdays,
I mean, I know from our community, Chellsie, if you said that there was a before the work gymnastics class, especially the CrossFit community, if you told them 4:30 a.m., they'll be there. Like they will come in and they'll be ready to work. So with the weightlifting community, it was like it's never been hard. As an adult, you can always find a barbell and find somewhere to go and figure it out. But prior to being with Power Monkey and all the gymnasts, that was never something I even thought about, that as an adult. I mean, I didn't try to kick up into a handstand until I was like 26 or 27, and you know, all these fun things. And yeah, it's just such a blessing to be able to share that with people, and again, have fun and see what you can do to use the body that you're given.
Yeah.
Well, gym owners out there, so we've tried to expand the network of adult gymnastics centers around the country as well, working with, you know, there's a few that do it really well, that have great networks. Chelsea Piers in New York, Stanford Gymnastics has a really strong adult program. I know there's some down in Texas as well. I think Dominique's and Canales' gym in Ohio does really good adult programs. There's a few of them that do it really well. But a lot of gym owners that we hear from talk about the barriers from opening this up, and one maybe being the time. So this is more of a question for the gym owner out there that might be considering adult classes and have some barriers in the way, or a member or a parent that would like to see their kids' gymnastics gym offer gymnastics. Maybe the questions to ask a gym owner. The things that have been barriers that I've heard are, one, like you said, time. When do we do it? If we have classes and team stuff going on, when's the best time to do it? You answered that question a little bit already. One is around insurance, and I'm curious whether or not this has been a big barrier for you, because I've felt like it hasn't been in the other gyms that I spoke to that have actually succeeded in it, that it's not a huge barrier. And then lastly, around finding quality coaches who know how to teach adults and not teach kids. So I'm curious about those two questions from your perspective.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's definitely different teaching adults, because some of them have a gymnastics space and some of them don't. And some people know, they're like, hey, this is not my niche. I teach better with kids, and that is just fine. But yeah, it's a different way, because a lot of it too is body maintenance, making sure. And that's why I structured mine the way I did, where we make sure we warm up and we do some of the conditioning beforehand. Because I just know from personal experience, like my warm up time practically doubled.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, from being 15 to being 30, like my age doubled, my warm up time doubled. But so being able to do that, and to having still though enough time to get some of the gymnastics in. I know the insurance too. A lot of it is how like you structure and name your classes too. Like you can't, like, I know they're not good with like saying it's an adult open gym. Like it does need to be structured and instructed. Sorry. And if it's instructed, that makes it a little bit easier for the insurance to like handle. But yeah, it is
possible, right? It's something that's feasible. Possible. It's not like impossibly priced out. It's not something that a gym owner can't do if there's you know, a want and a need for it.
Right. So, I think there is a want and there is a need. You know, people want to do it, and I know it's hard. And you know, there's another gym that offers it, you know, a little bit later, like 7 or 7:30 to 9. And that's just for me. Like right now, it's not possible to coach something like that. But like I said, it is finding the gym time though. And I found that a lot of, like I said, my ladies who are my regulars do like it when the gym is open. You know, because there's not all of the other like, you know, distractions or other people like watching, and they can just come in and they can do their thing, they can work on it and just feel great about it. Like that's been the like so rewarding to me to see them get these skills again, or get this or get that. And one of mine, she just competed at NAIGC Nationals and just
awesome,
had a blast, and it was
amazing.
That's really cool.
Well, I want to put it out there for any listeners out there that are in this boat, an athlete that has a kid at a gymnastics gym, or has just been searching for an adult program and has struggled with it. I'd like them to reach out to us, and I'd like to try to facilitate, trying to find them a place. You know, we have a pretty vast network of knowing the gyms that are capable of hosting these kind of things, and I'd love for them to be in a situation where they can access good adult classes, places where they can feel like they're being taught from a structured perspective, but also in an environment that's safe. So big part of our agenda is to get more people doing gymnastics as they get older. And I think, Chelsea, you're kind of the embodiment of that.
You're the poster superwoman for us, because that's, most day-to-day people, they look at gymnastics, especially for women's gymnastics, and they think, oh, that's a youth sport basically. And then, yeah, once you're a certain age, you just can't or shouldn't do that, or especially after you have children or whatever. And yeah, it's not the case at all.
No, it's not. And I believe that, at the one point saying, oh, well, you're older, you should retire. And it's like, all right. But then it was like, I started doing it. I was like, wait, why? Why do I have to retire? Why do I
Yeah.
have to stop doing it? Like, maybe even if I don't want to compete or I don't want to get to the highest level, why can't I still do this and have fun like that? I feel like for me, all of like the time that I spend like working out and staying fit, like the gymnastics is one of the rewards of that. I was like,
Mhm.
I get to do this. Like, look at what I still get to do. Look at what my body is still allowing me to do. And that part of it for me is so fun. Like, that is one of the biggest joys I get is being able to still flip and do some of these things. And like I said, it's that reward for working out.
I think that perspective
It's
is
so,
such a great one. The
yeah,
idea of you
it's so
getting
good.
to it. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say it's so good because you're just offering an exposure. I was really fortunate in weightlifting. The coach that I grew up with, when I started training with him, I was 11 and he was already about 60, and he was still lifting really good weights, like all the competition lifts. And now he's in his 80s and he still does 3 to 4 days a week. So maybe it wasn't so common, but for me, it was pretty normal. And then at the Olympic Training Center, we had a coach from Poland, and he grew up in gymnastics, then got into weightlifting, and he was in his 70s, and he would, come out and do perfect positions. But he was, like you said, as you get older, you stretch more, you do more warming up and mobility. And he would spend most of his day doing that while we were training. And then he would, come out and do really nice lifts, really nice pull-ups, all these things. So I think the more, as all of us, especially as, former, current athletes, current coaches, just the exposure of showing people that, this is it's a lifestyle and a longevity. It's never too late to get into it. And you've never been at too high of a level to keep going, and just reframe your focus and continue to find your expression within your movement.
No,
Agreed.
I agree.
Now, Chellsie, we talked a little bit about your gymnastics training, but outside of the gym, I think is important too. And I'm curious if you could just give us a little bit of insight into what you changed now, because you seem to be the most fit you've ever been. And diet. We talk a lot about these other kind of extraneous things that are critical that most people kind of put as a secondary measure to their fitness levels and to their success as an athlete. But obviously diet, sleep habits, stress levels, supplements, a lot of these other things kind of have slowly started to become a little bit more at the forefront of creating well-rounded athletes. I'm curious if there's been any major changes for you in any of these areas that have been noticeable in terms of allowing you to become as fit as you are now.
Yes. Yes. There's, almost shifts in almost all of it, honestly. It was so much of it was trial and error though, and figuring out what worked for me. Because my elite career was so much of like a roller coaster of in shape, out of shape, in shape, out of shape. And nothing that I did was really healthy or sustainable. I did eat fairly well, but it was always like this, okay, hurry up, get in shape for this competition. And then it was like, go off the deep end when you got home and had a couple months of rest. And like I said, it wasn't healthy. It wasn't a good relationship, like with food and with working out. It was like that attitude of doing it because I had to, or this or that, or it was thinking about, oh, I can't wait till I'm done, then I get to do this and that. It was finding a balance, and that took time. Like, it took how many years, and it took that trial and error to kind of like figure out what works for me, what works for my body, what works for my lifestyle that I know that I can do on a daily basis. And I'm finally thankful to feel like I'm in that place, because now I have been fit for, oh gosh, it's been like 3 years. And I can't say that about any of my career as an elite athlete, which I think is silly. But that's just how it was. And obviously, like, I've fluctuated up and down like in this 3 years, but I've still maintained like a certain level of fitness. Again, like which I said, which has never been the case. But it's not trying to chase a diet or a fad. It's figuring out the foods that I like and that I'm willing to eat and that I want to eat. And it has been more of a meal planning. And it does take more, it's more of a thought process. And I still go in waves of what I like to eat. And if I get on a kick and I'll eat something for a couple weeks and then I won't want it for a month. But it's working, and it's different for if I'm going into the gym in the morning, I'm not going to eat a lot. I don't like to do it on a full stomach. So I'm probably going to have a smoothie. So what have I found? I've got all my freezer bags and I prep my smoothies. I've got like, I think 15 bags in my freezer. So where it's really easy to get up, open the baggie and dump it in instead of like going down to my deep freezer and getting all of the bags of fruit. Cause then I'm not going to do that. Cause then I might grab something that's less healthy because it's quicker.
Sure.
So it was finding, like I said, those types of things where I know I'm going to have my smoothie with like my scoop of protein and some of this because I don't eat as many vegetables as I probably should, but you know, I put them in my smoothies.
Right.
So it was finding things like that. And on the days that, you know, I don't work out as much, I probably won't have as big of a dinner and my main course will be lunch. But again, and everything is in moderation for me. Like I'm not going to say, nope, I can't have that cookie, or I can't have this, or I can't have that. And that's made me be able to rein myself in instead of saying, I can't. And then when you say you can, you're going to have 5 or the whole bag of chips or this or that. It's all about balance.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Do you ever get any blood work done or hormone testing or anything like that? Have you had any of that stuff done?
I have not, but that has interested me a lot because I actually just took like a personal training certification course, and I'm taking another course, and there was one that just one whole chapter was dedicated to like all of the blood work, and it is interesting. But I've also taken some things out of my diet. Like when my daughter was born, I completely had to cut out dairy.
Being from Wisconsin, that's kind of tough too, huh?
Really tough because I really like cheese. But I did it for her, and it cleared up all of her skin issues. But she has more of a tolerance now, and it is back in my diet, and I may not go as crazy as I did before. But I didn't find like after I like reintroduced it to myself where it made me feel like that much different. And I think if it had it, you know, maybe I would have looked into it a little bit more.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I mean, if you're getting into the certification side of things, and I know we've tried to get you out of camp before, but you have to come to camp. I mean, it's just a no-brainer.
Come to camp.
It's a no-brainer.
Chellsie, yeah, you have a flight credit that we want to use. So I think I still have one of your flights.
I really do want to come to camp because I think that would just be such an amazing, it looks like such an amazing like learning and just uplifting environment. And that could be like the place where I choose to try to learn to lift, because I've never actually done any of the Olympic style lifting. Like I am all dumbbells and kettlebells. Because I just talked to Dave Tilley about this because I haven't just had that exposure yet, or taken like the time to find a gym and to find like a proper coach, because for me, like that would be like crucial to find somebody so I know that I am doing it properly.
Oh, you got to do it. We're just going to iron it out. We'll work it out with your husband, make sure that you can take the time off, and maybe for fall, you'll come to camp, because it's all of the things that you said. And what we talked about from earlier, it's just fun. Like you're going to love it. You're going to learn, and people are going to love having you there. But I think you're going to just have a blast. So we'll definitely get you out there. We're coming up on the hour here. And again, it went really quick, as it normally does when we have good conversation going. But I have to bring up something that is a blast from my past, and I have no idea whether or not you have fond memories of it at all, but it has to do with how me and my wife met, and you played kind of a role in it too. In 2011, my wife and I and some others within the gymnastics community were part of the Venice Biennale, which was the open. It's a contemporary art festival out in Venice, Italy, and I was asked to kind of help coordinate it, and we put on gymnastics routines of sorts on these sculptures. So the listeners out there, it was a very strange event, but very interesting, very cool. It's kind of the project that got me and my wife together and led us out to live in Venice, Italy for a year. But Chellsie, you played a role in it. You were our guest athlete for the opening week.
Yes.
And I can't remember, did you come to New York first to learn the routine?
I did, yes. My sister and I flew out. Mara came with me.
Yeah.
So you guys taught me the routines there. And
At
then
Circus Warehouse, because we had two mock-ups of the sculptures. These were wood and steel sculptures that were in the shape of airline seats, first class airline seats. There were two. There was the American, that was the men's apparatus, and Delta was the women's apparatus. So you flew to New York and you worked on this routine. It was about a 17-minute routine on the women's side. And then we flew you out to Venice and you came to the opening of the Biennale. I'm curious because for us, we have like such amazing memories of that whole time. Do you remember that trip at all? And was there anything that sticks out from that experience being with us out there?
I do. It was such a wonderful and like different type of experience, than I've ever had. Like I've not performed anything like that before. And being in Venice and being in something not for gymnastics, but for performing. I have very, very like fond memories of that trip, like getting dressed up and going out to the wonderful dinners.
Yeah.
I loved having like the pizza and gelato just about every single day. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that was a highlight. And I love sharing like the apartment and getting like to know everyone a little bit better. It was funny. One of the memories that does stick out though is I had just learned my new floor routine, and Sadie and Olga made me do it for them in the living room.
Yeah, I remember. And there's actually in the routine, there are some of your signature moves that were built into the routine that Sadie was like in love with. There were a couple of things that you used to do that Sadie was like, we have to put these little signature Chellsie movements in the routine, and they became part of art history. They're chronicled. The Indianapolis Museum of Art bought the apparatus, the women's sculpture, and Sadie ended up going out to Butler University in Indianapolis and teaching it to a bunch of other gymnasts who ended up doing the performance for another couple of years. And it's living out there in the art world, and your movements and your gymnastics has a role outside of just a competition floor, which is very cool.
That is very cool. But
yeah,
that was a wonderful trip.
I'm glad that you remember it fondly, and I will say that Sadie, the gelato and the pizza too were her highlights. I don't think I've told this story on the podcast, but I'll finish with this because I think it's kind of funny. But when I have dual citizenship with Italy, and when I was there, I had filled out all my paperwork for Italy to let them know that I was not a resident. But apparently Italy doesn't do paperwork very well. And so when we submitted our passports, when we got there, the police came to our apartment, and it was before you got there. And the police came and they detained me. They brought me to jail because I hadn't served my Italian military service yet. And so they said that I had to go directly to serve my 2-year military service for Italy. And I was like, oh my God, like, what am I supposed to do? I got to get out of this. I have to figure out a way out of this. Sadie, on the other hand, was like, I'll wait for you. Go do your military service. I'm going to eat all the gelato and pizza I possibly can. I'll figure out what I got to do here for the next 2 years until you come out. She was like, her mind was not, how do we get out of this? But rather, I'm living here now for 2 years because Dave's in prison or going to the military. And I just have to now figure out what my Italian life is going to look like. I was like shocked. She that was her immediate thought. So it was very hard to pull Italy out of Sadie and Sadie out of Italy. And fortunately, we go back quite often. But that was a good insight into the life that I was going to lead, where my wife prefers Italy over me.
I think every podcast episode, Dave could offer another story of how Sadie turned his lemons into her lemonade. She has an uncanny ability to do that with the people she loves most. And the longer that I've known them, she's had a few of those opportunities with me as well. So
Yeah, well,
she always
fortunately,
keeps
I was
us.
able to work out all the military stuff and did not have to serve. I love the Italian culture and my Italian heritage, but not having served the Italian army, I'm fortunate to have now in my 40s not have to have done that. But Chellsie, thank you for the time today. Thank you for an incredible journey here. Where can people find you, and what is your next big challenge? Like what are you trying to achieve over the next, are we going to look out for you in 2024? Is Paris on the potential agenda here? What do you have coming up next?
Or are you ready to retire having beaten Dave in the latest challenge?
Wait,
press
it's
to
not a
handstands
one
in
and
a
done
minute?
kind of a thing here. We can go back
I'm
and
just,
forth.
I feel like we kind of glossed over
Right
that
now.
throughout the whole hour, and I just wanted to make sure that got out there.
Thank you for bringing that up. No, it was like, I saw how many he did. I'm like, gosh, I got to get at least one more.
You beat me in the last 2 challenges, by the way. So the pistols as well. So,
but I do choose the ones that are more suited for me. Notice how those are the only 2 I've tried or posted.
No big deal. No big deal. I love it. I love it though. Yeah, but what do you have coming up next?
I'm honestly just enjoying being in the gym, enjoying working out. I don't have any competitions on the horizon. I pulled my groin and I'm still trying to figure out when, and it is not like, it's being very, very stubborn. So I've taken just some time off of doing a lot of the big flipping to try to get that to heal. And I'm just like, okay, this might be my age starting to show where we're not healing as fast.
It's going to happen.
It is. So that part has been a little bit frustrating. But again, the cool part is that I'm still like being able to work out. Like I'm finding the modifications that I can do and still staying fit while trying to figure this out. Again, which is something that never would have happened when I was younger. But I'm just going to keep seeing where it goes. I'm going to still stay active. I love working out. I love doing those kinds of challenges. Working on my 100th Chellsie challenge because I wanted that to be one that was like hard for me and that I had to work for. So that one is going to be fun.
All right, we got to keep an eye out for that one. We'll have everybody.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I think this week is going to be like 94 maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, so just continuing to be active, trying to keep have this big role in the adult gymnastics community. I'm really, really looking forward to my 2 adult summer camps that just blew my mind. They filled so quickly. So
are you doing them at your gym?
Doing them at the gym.
Fantastic.
I can't wait. We have one in June and it filled so fast. We opened another weekend in August. So those are both full and I can't wait for that. Also, we kind of rebranded our meet. So the M&M Challenge is going to feature its first Chellsie Classic, which is also going to offer an adult only session.
Oh, wait, a competitive adult
competitive
session?
So
oh my God, that's amazing.
Yes. So we were going to do, like, I've tried to research and figure out what was the best way to do that. And I think it's going to be an AAU session. So I'm really excited to be able to offer that to people. Cause I know there's some adults that just, they want to compete. They want the opportunity. They want the chance. And I think, being able to do that and not have to like intermingle with the, 12, 13, 14-year-olds is just nice.
I love it. We'll definitely put some links to those. They're sold out, but at least people can be directed to what you got going on. Instagram handle, any websites you want to mention?
Yeah, Instagram at @CMemmel23. I'm on Twitter at @CMemmel. Haven't been on YouTube in a while. I feel like my life has not been quite as exciting as it was when I was like full blown training. So
we'll definitely send everyone that way. These questions are going to be quick here, and I kind of feel like I already know the answer. We ask all our guests: weightlifting or gymnastics? What sport do you prefer?
Oh, gymnastics.
Thank you. I just needed that check off into my win column here. Mike and Chad are far behind, and believe it or not, even Mike, when he was a guest on the podcast, didn't even say weightlifting. So there's been not too many weightlifting check marks.
I'm bipartisan.
Any books that you've come across recently that you want to share with our listeners?
Any books, did you say?
Books, yeah. If you're not a reader, any TV shows or movies or anything?
Oh gosh, I love reading, but I have not lately. The last book I was reading was actually, it's funny that it's right here, was this one. So
Certified Personal Trainer.
Yeah. that was the last book.
I've heard that one.
All right. All right. I love it. I love it.
No, I know I need to get back into reading, but my reading, that is my escape, where it's just like, I like reading fluff where it's just like, take me away.
Right.
to, like
Excellent.
this alternate universe.
Last question. Any guests that you think would be great for us to have on the podcast? Anybody you've come across recently, or anyone that we haven't had on before that you think would be a good guest for us? Maybe from the gymnastics world.
Trying to think, because I don't know all of your guests you've had. I don't know. Have you talked to Bridget? Because I know she does the whole CrossFit thing.
We have had Bridget on. Bridget's amazing. Bridget's actually been on our staff for camp. So I just want to keep running down the list of the 08 team, because you guys are all just such badasses in your own right. So maybe we need to get Sam on.
Yes.
Absolutely. So yeah, we can work down the rest of the list of that 08 amazing team. Well, thank you both. Mike, thank you for coming in from Germany. Love that you were able to stay on with us even a little bit later on at night. And Chellsie, thanks so much for taking the time today. It was great speaking with you and good seeing you again.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Mike. This was a wonderful conversation. Appreciate it.
You got it. Well, all of our listeners out there, be sure to head over to powermonkeyfitness.com for services and upcoming events. We do have our Power Monkey camp in the next couple of weeks. It's sold out. Please look on social media for what we got going on at camp. And the next camp, our 18th one, is already up on the agenda for the fall. It's going to be September 25th to October 1st. We're about half sold out for that one. It's selling out pretty quickly. So if you are interested, please go and check out powermonkeycamp.com now for more information on it. Also, check out our Instagram pages for regular teaching and technical content at Power Monkey Fitness, at Dave Durante. And Mike, what is your handle?
Oh, it's a tough one, at Mike Service.
Excellent. Nice and easy. On behalf of Power Monkey Fitness, I'm your host, Dave Durante, with my co-host, Mike Service. And until next time, thank you all for listening.